The story of John Ogutu, a 33-year-old Kenyan teacher, has now become a heartbreaking symbol of how post-election unrest can claim lives and erase them without a trace. On October 29, 2025, violence erupted in parts of Dar es Salaam following Tanzania's disputed general election. Streets that had once been filled with chants and campaign songs quickly turned into scenes of confrontation. Among those caught in the chaos was Ogutu, a teacher at Sky Schools, known among his peers as calm, committed and always hopeful about the future.
I just said, bro, are you safe? And it was one great tick. And when I checked up there, he was last online on 11:22 p.m. of the other day. Then there was silence and I went to the other number. He has two numbers, the Tanzanian and the Kenyan. He uses both of them. So I went to his Tanzanian number and I said, hello bro, are you safe? There was no answer.
According to friends, John had been planning to travel back to Kenya that very week. His family in Nairobi's Huruma estate was expecting him home soon. But that call never came. Instead, word reached them that Ogutu had been shot and killed during the unrest. Reports indicate that his body was taken to Mwanyamala Hospital mortuary in Dar es Salaam. At first, this seemed like a tragic but clear path to closure. His family made arrangements to bring his remains home to Kenya for burial. But when his friends and colleagues visited the mortuary, the unthinkable happened. His body was missing. Hospital officials reportedly could not trace any records confirming the body's presence. For a family already shattered by grief, this revelation deepened their despair. It is like losing him twice, one relative said, struggling to understand how a man could die and then vanish again.
Serikali inaweza kutusaidia watu waende huko, tujue ako wapi na vitu zake, kama tunaweza pata na yeye mwili tumzike tu.
Watuletee hata mwili mpaka kwa boda tuchukue tuende tuzike, tutakuwa tumesaidika. Juu sasa tusipompata itakuwa ngumu hata kwa familia. Kwa watoto hawataamini kwamba baba yao alikufa.
The situation quickly drew the attention of Vocal Africa, a Nairobi-based human rights group. Through its chief executive officer Hussein Khalid, the organization wrote an urgent petition to Kenya's principal secretary for foreign affairs, Korir. The letter reads as I quote, "We write to you with deep concern regarding two Kenyan citizens affected by the unrest in Tanzania. We seek the urgent intervention of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to secure justice and humane treatment for both individuals." In the case of Ogutu, Vocal Africa described the sequence of events in alarming detail, noting eyewitness accounts of his death, the initial mortuary booking, and the disturbing discovery that his body could no longer be found. The organization urged Kenya's government to engage the Tanzanian authorities and help trace Ogutu's body. Hussein Khalid emphasized that this was not just about one man. It was about accountability, transparency, and respect for human dignity.
So I called the number. He didn't pick, and then he called back. And I introduced myself. He also introduced himself. Then I asked him, is it true that John is dead? He said, yes. So I asked him what happened. So he told me on 29th at around 7:33 p.m. He's a teacher and he's the one who took John to Tanzania. So he told me he was called from one of the colleague teachers of our court. Not a colleague teacher, someone from that center where he stays, and called him and told him, Bwana Mwalimu is lying down here. People have been shot dead here, and Mwalimu is one of them. So he started describing. He has a red pen and a blue pen in his t-shirt. He has been shot at the back, and he is dead.
Engage the Tanzanian authorities urgently to establish the whereabouts of Ogutu's body and ensure it is released to his family without further delay for transportation and burial in Kenya. Khalid appealed. The case has since raised broader concerns about how citizens abroad are protected in moments of political unrest. With cross-border ties between Kenya and Tanzania as strong as ever, questions linger. Why has the Tanzanian government remained silent? What happened to the body after it reached the hospital? And will the Kenyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs take firm diplomatic steps to resolve the case? For now, the family of John Ogutu waits, not for answers from courtroom, but for the simple return of a body that will finally allow them to say goodbye. In Huruma, Nairobi County, his mother still keeps his photos on the wall, smiling, full of life, surrounded by his pupils during a school event in Dar es Salaam. To her, he is not just a statistic in post-election violence. He was her son, a teacher who loved his students, and a Kenyan who died in a foreign land. As investigations continue, the question remains, who will bring John Ogutu home?
Fika asubuhi ya leo alipopata nafasi ya kwenda mchari kutafuta hiyo mwili, hawakupata mwili.
Ikiwa wale wa Kenya ambao wanaishi kule wote wamewekwa kuwa ni wahalifu ambao wamekuja kuchoma nchi yenye si yao, mbona wasirudishwe Kenya hapa? Manake wanakwao.
This comes after the African Union just shattered the silence in an unusually blunt statement. Its observer mission declared Tanzania's 2025 elections non-compliant with democratic standards. Think about that. The AU often accused of diplomatic politeness, calling out an East African government for ballot stuffing, multiple voting, and systematic suppression. It is not just a report, it is a warning shot, one that could redefine how Africa handles stolen elections.
We request the International Crime Court for the fact-finding missions to enter Tanzania and call International Criminal Court to hold Tanzanian security chiefs accountable for the crimes against humanity.
Led by former Botswana President Mokgweetsi Masisi, the 72-member African Union Election Observation Mission didn't mince words. Their November 5th preliminary report detailed direct eyewitness accounts, voters being handled multiple ballots, and election officials restricting observers for just 5 minutes of access per polling station. Imagine an election where transparency itself is rationed, where the very act of counting votes becomes a state secret. That is what observers described. Some stations operated without party agents, leaving the process open to manipulation. The AU called it a compromised environment where democracy was more performance than practice. And when citizens tried to raise their voices online, the internet went dark. Government-imposed shutdowns, a now familiar tactic in contested African elections, silenced journalists, locked out observers, and suffocated dissent. In cities like Mbeya, Mwanza, and Dar es Salaam, protests erupted. Then came the gunfire. For the African Union, this language is rare. It is a diplomatic fire. The report accuses Tanzania of failing to meet the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, calling for immediate political and electoral reforms, investigations into killing, and accountability for abductions. The AU's final report will arrive in 2 months, but the damage, political, moral, and democratic, is already done. The question now is simple. Will Tanzania reform, persist, or relapse into silence? Because silence in this case isn't peace, it is surrender. For Maisha TV, I'm William Juma.